As we all know, at the end of the last volume of RWBY, the main cast plus Jean and Neo all fell into the abyss, winding up on this mysterious island. Since then, one of the main questions on everybody's mind, aside from what this island is, was who would RoosterTeeth decide to pair off on said island? Will we get an immediate reunion between all the characters, or will they all be alone? Which is what we're going to be talking about today. Now obviously I'm not going to go over every duo or trio possibility, as there isn't much to say on some of them. Instead I'm going to be talking about the duos or trios that I think should absolutely happen, and ones I think RoosterTeeth should avoid. So without further ado, Ouija here, and here's who I think should and shouldn't be together in Volume 9, at least at the beginning. Let's start with what I think should absolutely not happen, and that is for all the characters to be together from the start. Having them all together from the get-go would detract from potential drama that they could squeeze out of certain duos. Smaller groups would also give the writers a chance to explore the characters more, as it's just easier to explore a character in a smaller, more intimate setting. Being together would also rob us of tearful reunions we can get between the characters upon realizing that their friends aren't dead. Can you imagine the moment when RWBY sees her sister isn't dead? This is also the perfect opportunity for characters that don't usually interact to have conversations. I mean, we know that all these characters are friends, now it's time to show that they are. This couldn't happen if they were all together, as the urge for the writers to just have the characters gravitate towards certain duos would be too strong. Finally, having them all grouped up would make Neo's possible redemption harder to do. As what reason would the heroes have to interact with her? After all, she's tried to kill them multiple times. As opposed to having her in a group with one or two people, because it's just easier to focus on a redemption when having fewer characters around. As well as the situation of being on an island with nobody else around would force them to interact, which could lead into Neo opening up to whoever she is forced to interact with. You know how I mentioned potential drama? Well, this duo is rife with potential for it. As we all remember, at the end of the last volume, Jean murdered Penny at her behest. Penny, who was very important to RWBY, a person that RWBY went through so much trouble to save, someone who RWBY doesn't know is dead yet. So imagine how RWBY will react when she learns from Jean that he killed her. We could see a side of RWBY we have never seen before, a truly angry RWBY, a hateful RWBY, a RWBY ravaged by feelings of grief and betrayal. After all, Jean is the first friend RWBY made at Beacon, someone who amongst their group uniquely understood the feeling of leadership. Someone who she implicitly trusts. This duo would let them explore a different side to RWBY than the usual upbeat, optimistic RWBY we know, which if there's any character that desperately needs exploring, it's RWBY. What do I mean by this? Well, it's just as it says, Yang shouldn't be with anybody at the start of the volume. Why? Because she was the first one to fall. The one everybody saw fall after being slashed by Neo, with her aura shattering. The one that everybody is most likely to think is dead. Especially if you do something like, I don't know, separate her from her metal arm and splash some blood on it for good measure. Then have someone find it, possibly Blake or RWBY, to heighten the drama between them and their island buddies. Imagine the state RWBY would be in if she thought she lost both her sister and Penny. And imagine the amount of angst you can pull from the rest of Team RWBY as well. Then imagine the elation when they find out that she's alive. Also, if this is the season that they decide to make Bumblebee canon, I can't imagine a better scene than a kiss between Blake and Yang after being reunited, after thinking the other one was possibly dead. After thinking they would never see each other again. I know what you're thinking, you just want Weiss and Neo to be together because they're your favorite characters. And while yes, that is part of it, that's not the only reason these two should be together on the island. I feel like aside from Jean, Weiss is the only person that Neo could be with, where there's the possibility of them putting aside their differences to help each other survive. I don't think that would be possible with Blake alone, as she would probably try to kill Neo for what she did to Yang, and with RWBY it would be the opposite. Neo would spend more time trying to kill RWBY than trying to survive. I mean, in the preview for Volume 9, we saw her trying to kill RWBY as they're falling in the abyss, so clearly she doesn't really care as much for her survival as she does as getting revenge on RWBY. Not that Weiss and Neo wouldn't fight at first, Neo did try to kill them, but Weiss is level-headed enough to take stock of the situation and broker a peace. She's also the only one currently who could probably take Neo in the fight, as she has a weapon on her. There's also the prospect of Neo's possible redemption to consider. Of all the characters that can relate to Neo's life experience, it's Weiss, both coming from similar backgrounds. I actually did a video on that topic if you want to check that out. Also, if the theory that this is some kind of afterlife is true, maybe we will see Neo's parents. And given the similarities between them and Weiss's parents, that would give Weiss something to empathize with Neo on. Something to bond them, to show Weiss that maybe Neo isn't that different from her. That maybe she just needs a friend to help guide her down the right path, much like RWBY did with her. After this bonding experience, you can throw an angry, vengeful Blake into the mix, who immediately tries to kill Neo, and Weiss has to step in to stop them from fighting. This would obviously cause some tension between Blake and Weiss, which could be fun, with Weiss having to serve as a peacemaker between the two. Also, as far as characters that could hold up a dialogue-heavy scene with a mute, Weiss is on the top of it, especially given how sassy both characters are. Don't have a super in-depth reason for this not to happen, as they could probably work together just fine, as they barely have any history or connection. But maybe it's just that makes me not want this duo together. It feels like a super boring combination, and while I like Jean, I don't think he can carry a dialogue-heavy scene well enough to compensate for Neo's inability to talk, even though she can gesture and stuff. I know some people think that Jean and Neo could bond over their shared hate for Cinder, but I mean, she could honestly do that with anybody, as everybody hates Cinder. I mean, even Cinder's allies hate Cinder, and honestly, Cinder probably hates Cinder. Then there's the people who think Jean could help Neo come to the good side over a shared loss of an important person and a shared desire for vengeance. Personally, I don't think this is a good solution, as it would just be the same thing Neo has going on with Cinder over their shared hate of RWBY. If Neo is going to be redeemed and changed for the better, she needs someone that can help her overcome her hate and need for vengeance, not someone that would help fuel it. As for the loss of somebody important, I feel like the situations are too different to relate on. Neo lost the only person in the world that accepted her for who she was. Torchwick was the only person that Neo had. And while the loss of Pure has absolutely hit Jean hard, he has other teammates in RWBY there for him. Then there is his family. And while his relationship with his parents doesn't seem like the best, his relationship with his sister seems to be good, though he has other people who love and accept him, as opposed to Neo who only had Torchwick. Oh, I guess I did have a good reason. And that's who I think should and shouldn't be together on the island. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe, and comment below who you think should be together on the island. Thanks once again for watching. RWBY out.